This is a podcast from soof.co.uk. Hello, I'm Patrick Downs. This is all about film, whether it be Blu-ray, DVD or streaming. This is Bring the Film. Belfast is a personal and joyful story about the power of memory set in the late 1960s Northern Ireland. At the centre of the film is Buddy, a young boy in the cusp of adolescence whose life is filled with familial love, childhood hijinks and a blossoming romance. Yet, with his beloved hometown caught up in increasing turmoil, his family face a momentous choice. Hope the conflict will pass or leave everything they know behind for a new life.
Do you want to join a gang?
I'm not allowed.
Why not?
My mother said she'd kill me.
Sure, she doesn't have to know. That's the whole point.
Are you in one?
Aye.
What's it called?
Doesn't have a name.
Why not?
Has to be secret. That's what they tell you when you join.
What do you do?
I can't tell you till you're in the gang.
How many of you are there?
Not allowed to say.
What do you have to do to join then?
Whatever they tell you.
Directed and written by Kenneth Branagh, starring Jamie Dornan, Caitriona Balfe, Judi Dench, Jude and Ciaran Hinds. And our film correspondent Faye Cleary caught up with Dame Judi Dench about why she likes working with Kenneth Branagh.
Well, he hasn't got one style, Ken. He's got numerous. And this I think was the 12th thing we've done together. And Kenny is always different, and he's always what is the word? He's multi-informed about it all. He's enormously good fun, and you never think, oh, what am I getting? He's always ready with. If you ask him a lot of questions, he always knows the answer and knows what we're doing. I put that really badly, but nevertheless, he's just one of those people who you run to work with.
And he said about you, he ends the movie on a close-up of your face, which he said quite literally took his breath away. How does that feel to hear that?
It took my breath away because I thought, I can't be as old as that. It must all be makeup. That's very nice to hear. Because when it's a personal story, of course, like this is very personal for him, you want to fulfill that memory for him, and hoping you come up to scratch with it and supply absolutely everything that he has written. And it's with Shakespeare, he's not there, so you have to guess. But when Ken is there and it's his bit of story, then you have there's a lot resting on your shoulders.
And you're in the nominations list at the BAFTAs for this, and also Belfast is hotly tipped at the Oscars. Is awards recognition important to you?
I think it's lucky and lovely, but I know lots of films that I think deserved awards and that have never had them, and yet the film is wonderful. I hope for Kenny's sake that something happens about it at the awards, but I think that people are going to enjoy this film anyway, regardless.
I completely agree. One of the things I wanted to ask you was, Kenneth built this set in Hampshire. Did you get much of a chance to explore the local area? I know there was a lot of lockdown restrictions.
There were a lot of lockdown, none at all. We just went straight to the set. We were amazingly well cared for because we were all masked and we were all tested every day, and there were special places that you could walk, and so that we were divided, and that in actual fact, when you know that, you don't see a sign of that in the film, but nevertheless we were incredibly well looked after.
Well, that's all you want from a movie set, surely. Mm-hmm. I've got to ask you as well about Jude Hill. He's so compelling and he's been highly praised for this movie. What did you make of his performance?
He can show us all the way home, Jude. He's a delightful little boy, he is. And he seemed totally unfazed, never done anything like before. He's an Irish dancer. But he was totally unfazed. He was enormously good fun, and you look forward to the scenes with him. He was a kind of grown-up actor in a little 10-year-old boy's frame.
That's so lovely. And finally, I'm running out of time, but I'd like to ask you a little bit about your own family. I know that you have some Irish links. Did making this movie bring back any memories for you of your family?
Indeed it did. My family was in Dublin. And so I had some family, I think, in Belfast too. So I know Ireland quite well. Though not the north so well, but I was very pleased to do it and be in touch with relations and friends, and and get to know more about Ken's family.
Directed and written by Kenneth Branagh, starring Jamie Dornan, Caitriona Balfe, Judi Dench, Jude Hill and Ciaran Hinds. Allied correspondent Faye Cleary caught up with Caitriona Balfe and Jamie Dornan if being a parent during the current pandemic helped him relate to his character apart in terms of parenting through a crisis.
Being a parent is an everyday challenge. It's an unbelievable challenge, and some days you feel sort of mightily up for it, and some days you don't feel that you have the capacity to get through it. Particularly when we've 3 under the age of 9, it's a lot. So I understand what that is. I understand trying to navigate these big decisions, but also keeping in mind that what's happening in the world is affecting these tiny people, and they don't have the understanding that you're benefited from being an adult. So it definitely all ties in, and what's so lovely about the film is that we get to experience it through the lens of the child of a 9-year-old boy, and him seeing his parents in this sort of heightened state, having to make these big decisions, and actually it's probably exactly what our eldest has been looking at us through this last 2 years going, what's the crack here? Like, this looks mental. So it is all relatable.
I know parenting through a crisis myself, not the easiest thing in the world. Caitriona, working with Judi Dench, she's such a legend. What were some of your favourite moments on set with her?
I mean, just being around her in general, you're kind of pinching yourself. But we had one day where Judi and I are doing a scene. We're in her house, and Ken just asked us to improvise and to riff. And, I'll never forget that, just how sharp she is, how quick. She's just the most normal, down to earth, but yet, I don't know, she radiates this light at the same time. She's an amazing woman, and I just feel very fortunate that I got to work with her.
Now, Belfast is hotly tipped at the Oscars, and both of you have actually been nominated in the long list in the BAFTAs for supporting actress and actor. Jamie, I'll start with you. How does that feel? Are awards important to you?
They're a nice little sort of addition to, the hard work. For me, it's about the day-to-day of making the movie or the series, whatever it is you're doing, and putting everything into that and trying to make that as fun as possible and have the most rewarding collaborative experience you can have. And then sometimes out the other end there's a real appreciation, and then it leads to stuff like this. Not often for me, I must say, but this has been a lovely moment, and it just feels, selfishly, like I just love that I get to spend all this extra time with these people that we shared this amazing experience with, and we get to elongate that experience by being in all these conversations. And as we say at home, won't be losing the run of ourselves, but it's certainly exciting to be in those chats. Yeah.
And Caitriona, for you?
I mean, the same. We genuinely had such an incredible time filming this. I think it came at such a special time. It was such a special project. Every day was brilliant, and we all loved it, and we all got along so well. And I think anything that sort of helps get the film out, helps get people to watch it. And also, especially for our crew and the rest of the people in the film, the kind of reward that they get for their work by seeing it in these conversations is really lovely. And for Ken, I think we all just feel a huge debt of gratitude to him for bringing us on this journey. So anything that sort of rewards him for that, we're all about.
Jamie, finally, before I go, I'd like to know what your reaction was to seeing the movie in full with the use of black and white and the use of colour on the cinema screens and in the theatre. What was your reaction to seeing it all together?
Yeah, it was beautiful because actually a lot of time, if we were lucky enough to see any of the playback on the monitor when we were shooting, it was in colour, which still looked great. Obviously, like Jim Clay was our production designer, the sets were amazing, and Harris Ambalukas, our DP, like everything looked beautiful. But then that switched to black and white, like no one's going to argue, everyone and everything looks better, you know. So it was, it's almost like when I first watched it, and Caitriona and I went the same. We did a small screening with just Caitriona and I and Ken. It almost made me think that everything was in black and white. It transported me to that moment. I was like, hold on, was the world in black and white when you shot this? Like in a very sort of sincere, authentic way. You know, it made it in my memory. It made it feel like in my memory it was like that. You know, and I love it. I think it's so clever the way he did it in that form of escapism when he did go to cinema, did go to theatre, and away from the sort of monochrome colours of Belfast, and there was just this light and this colour that was possible, like this crazy, you know, maybe unimaginable life beyond where you're from. And I think we can all relate to that if you're from a small place like that, you know. So it was very cool.
I caught sight of my face in that shop window when I was running down the street and dragging them poor kids behind me. And I was looking in the mirror just now at that same face. I asked myself, what the hell am I doing? And then I was sick, like I am every morning now. And I realised I don't think it really matters anymore. So tomorrow, when I'm back in Alley looking round, I'm going to start back.
Directed and written by Kenneth Branagh, starring Jamie Dornan, Caitriona Balfe, Judi Dench, Jude Hill and Ciaran Hinds. And our film correspondent Faye clearly caught up with Ciaran Hinds about being approached by Kenneth to play Pop in this film.
When Ken sent me the script and asked me would I consider taking the part of Pop, I did more than consider. I was very touched and kind of very honoured that Ken had come to me. And it was, yeah, the script as I read it just took me way back. It kind of touched me in the core. It kind of reconnected me because I've travelled around a bit and they never go away far, but these feelings of memories of fathers and parents and grandparents, this script of Ken's really put me back into the early years, 60s, even 50s. When I was a kid, around his age, I would have been 1960, 61, I would have been the age of Buddy at 9. And so it did take me back to the 50s, my grandparents and my parents, yeah. They were very stylish then.
And one of the things I've read is that you both grew up not too far from each other, actually, you and Kenneth. Did you get much of a chance to reminisce on your love of cinema and the love of the area? Because I think you both went to the same cinema when you were younger, didn't you?
Yeah, we did. We went to the Capitol with a OL, Capitol Cinema, which was just on the Antrim Road near the junction with the Cafil Limestone Road. And I didn't know Ken. I mean, Ken and I would have known of each other from the 80s, but we'd never worked together. We just said hello to each other once or twice. But then, as we remembered, that when Ken mentioned something, and I read an article about him, I realized that we were talking about the same hill behind our houses. We were half a mile away, the Cave Hill Mountain, and a particular element of it, Napoleon's nose, which was a feature. If you looked at the hill a certain way sideways, you'd see a forehead, a bump, and a big nose. And things like that just tickled me about where he came from. And I think his street was almost opposite the primary school I went to as a kid.
Wow, that's amazing. And I've got to ask, of course, about the wonderful Judi Dench. She always seems such a joy to work with. Was it fun being her on-screen husband?
I'm here to disprove that. She was a nightmare. No, she wasn't. She was, it's beyond the honour of actually believing that you could have Judi Dench for a wife, but to actually get to work with her so closely, you know, because I've seen her on stage and many things on screen, and to be in that orbit of her kind of brilliance, but also her generosity and her kind of instinctive rebelliousness that is very creative in a way, fantastically open. And also the idea of working with Judi and then young Jude, who's extraordinary in the film, Jude Hill. I mean, really phenomenal. And then it was just kind of being in concert with those two and being guided by Ken was one of the most joyous experiences I've had on film.
Directed and written by Kenneth Branagh, starring Jamie Dornan, Caitriona Balfe, Judi Dench, Jude Hill and Ciaran Hinds. And our correspondent Faye Claley caught up with Jude Hill, who plays Buddy, about how he reacted when he found out he got a part in Belfast.
Pretty sure it was just a normal school day. Nothing really special was going to happen. And I wake up, I go downstairs, and my mum shows me an email that she got. I read the first sentence and I found out that I'd been casted in Belfast, and I ran around the house screaming for about 10 minutes, and then finally when I'd calmed down, I read the rest of the letter, and wow, I just couldn't stop jumping on the spot. It was just such an honour to even meet Kenneth Branagh on the auditions, never mind work with him. But yeah, it was just crazy.
And not just Kenneth Branagh, but also the wonderful Judi Dench. What was your favourite moment working on set with her?
I think my favourite moment with Judi Dench was probably on the busing that we had after Buddy and Granny go see the play. And I just remember being on set, and I'm pretty sure Ken was changing the camera lens or something, and I was watching Judi Dench learn her lines and learn her accent, and I was just so fascinated by it in a whole, just watching her analysing what she was doing. And she said it sentence by sentence, then repeated it, and kept on going like that until she'd learned the entire paragraph. And just watching Judi Dench work and prepare like that was just such a privilege to even be in the room with her. It's just, I'm so grateful.
I mean, it's such a cool story to tell. So I also want to know what the atmosphere was like when the camera wasn't rolling. Were you able to spend a lot of time with the other cast members? Did you have homework?
Well, they had a tutor on set, and every time I was off, I went into the tutoring van and did a little bit of my homework. And yeah, I'd say we weren't allowed to go out for dinners or anything outside of work hours with the rest of the cast. But I do remember there was a rounders match and a football match between all the ADs and the cast. And I'm pretty sure my team, the Blacks, won. But yeah, just playing football with them all was really sweet, and I just loved the entire experience.
Well, congratulations on the win as well.
Thank you.
And was there any pressure for you playing Kenneth's younger self? Because this is obviously a real love letter film for him.
Oh, definitely. I was very, very nervous before shooting. But my first ever scene, Ken just sat me down and took me aside and said to put a lot of myself into the character, mix and mash it up, bits of Buddy and bits of me. And he said that's the best way an actor can act. And I did that for my first scene, and I thought it looked really good. And yeah, Kenneth Branagh, every single day I was asking him about something and he gave the right answer. And just, yeah, even learning from him is like, wow, he just knows so much.
Well, your performance was incredible. You were so captivating, and the reviews have said just that and more. How does that feel?
Well, all of these people saying so much nice things about the film, it's just, I think Kenneth Branagh really, really deserves it, since he put his everything into making this, and it's a real love letter to his younger self. And all these talk about how good the film is and stuff, it just gives me that warm tinkle on my back, seeing all these people saying so much nice things.
Written, directed and produced by Kenneth Branagh. It's Belfast and it's out now. And with that, thanks for checking me out on the Bring the Film podcast today. I'm Patrick Downs, and you can keep in touch across Twitter at I'm Patrick Downs, also on Instagram or facebook.com/officialpoptart. And there's also the website soof.co.uk. This is a podcast from soof.co.uk.